Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadidamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, peace, peace. Namaste and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Alexandra Savitri Amba, Director of the Vedic Healing Center and the American Reiki Academy. I'm a Reiki master, Vedic Healing master, Feng Shui teacher, and a spiritual life coach. I've taught spiritual self-development for more than 30 years, led pilgrimages to India, and studied with Indian spiritual gurus for the past 25 years. In this show, we cover topics related to metaphysics, Reiki, Vedic healing, Feng Shui, and spiritual growth. The aim of these shows is to help you create a successful spiritual practice which will enhance your life. It will bring you greater happiness, well-being, peace, and productivity so that you may become the best version of you. So welcome to today's episode, and the title of today's episode is Why Reiki? It's a short title, and I felt moved this week to record something specifically in regard to Reiki. As many of you who know me know about my background, and I first discovered Reiki while I was in graduate school studying English. It doesn't seem to be a common pairing, the English literature with Reiki healing, and certainly it wasn't, but the combination balanced energies in my body, in my being. What I mean by that is whenever you have to engage your brain in a very concentrated way, as you would if you were studying in school, you are putting a lot of energy in the mental body aspect of who you are. So when you receive body work, it puts you into a whole other dimension, and that is more of a feminine energy dimension. So the two of them working together created great balance in my being. I also come from a fairly intellectual family, and this is always a challenge to balance the energies within, not to spend too much time in either male energies or female energies, but to create that balance within the energy field. So anything in academia is going to be very mental body focused, whereas any activities done in the healing arts will be very emotional body focused or spiritual body focused. You will be in your intuitive energies when you are receiving body work or doing body work, as opposed to your intellectual faculties when you are studying in school. So anyway, as a little bit of a long introduction, I just wanted to say that I discovered Reiki when I was in graduate school, and it was really by chance. However, I always say in Reiki classes that nothing really is by chance. And as spiritual seekers and students of metaphysics, we realize that everything we draw into our lives is significant in some way. So often we're looking for the lessons in the experiences that come to us. Thus, when I discovered Reiki while in graduate school, we might say that was a very strange occurrence, or we might say it was divinely guided, for it was part of my destiny and part of what I feel I have been here to offer to the planet. So today I wanted to discuss why Reiki? What is this healing art? And even when I first discovered it, people around me would say, Reiki, what? What is this healing art? What is a healing art, first of all? And even the term metaphysics was strange to people who were around me. And metaphysics means anything beyond the physical plane. So in the healing arts, we start to look at these other abilities and energies, anything beyond the physical plane, beyond what we can see and touch and feel with our physical body. So why Reiki? What is it with this healing modality called Reiki? Now, recently I had an interesting experience, and that's what I wanted to talk about today in discussing this topic, why Reiki. This experience triggered this podcast, and the experience was that I received a Reiki healing. Now you may wonder why I am stating that as if it were something miraculous, but I will explain that in a minute. First of all, I want to say that before I received the healing, I was in a good mood, as I usually am. My day was pleasant. I was happy. I am generally leading a very fulfilling life. And this I always attribute to my spiritual practice. As you know from other podcasts, this is really what has fueled me and continues to give me great bliss and great rewards, no matter what is occurring around me. So, why did I receive Reiki? Usually I teach group classes in Reiki. I teach small groups and larger groups, and I hold special healing circles where people can convene together and practice Reiki and network with other practitioners. But I had a special case where a student flew in from Northern California and she had limited time, so we had arranged a private training. And what this meant was that we did the practical part in her course where I became the recipient. So this is, for any Reiki masters out there, this is really a very good way for the teacher to feel the newly initiated student's energy. Right when we initiate a student into Reiki, the energy flow gets turned on or activated in the student's energy field. And typically, the students practice on one another in class, and certainly I assist in this process, but I'm also overseeing the process. So I'm not necessarily the recipient of healing. The students are practicing on one another. So if you get the opportunity as a Reiki master to do private trainings, you need the student to practice on someone. And if you are teaching her just one-to-one, then you become the recipient. And this is what happened to me. So you are able to check the hand placements. You are able to check the temperature, the feeling of the Reiki, the tempo of the movements, also the heaviness, the weight of the hands, and other such points. So what happened? What happened during my Reiki session? And why Reiki? First of all, I experienced a very, very deep relaxation. It was like an incredibly long, wonderful nap. And I woke up like Rip Van Winkle. So what I mean by that is I woke up and I did not fall asleep, but I emerged from my session feeling, and the reason I use the name Rip Van Winkle is because you remember from the story, Rip goes to sleep and he wakes up 20 years later. So, of course, we use this term when we have a very deep sleep experience, and that's what happened to me. The reason I mention this is that deep state of relaxation is something that we take for granted and often we are not accessing. So Reiki gave me that great, great sense of deep, deep relaxation, almost as if I had been asleep. But of course, in Reiki, often you do not fall asleep when you receive a session. Sometimes people do, but you learn how to hover in a space where you are still awake, but you are in a deep state. It's very similar to meditation and the states you reach in meditation. So the other thing that happened in my session is there was a calmness, a stillness within my being when I sat up when I sat up at the end of the session to get off the table, similar to what we get in our sadhana as well. And in addition, I entered into a state of no care, no cares, no worries, no upsets. It's a state in which the mental activity gets dissolved and everything melts into light. Again, very similar to the states we reach in our personal spiritual practice. So Reiki is a vehicle for light to flood in. When we are in this space, we can move more easily in the world. We can navigate the world more easily because we are filled with health. It's almost like when you do a cleanse. Let's say you're doing a juice cleanse. You clear debris from the body. Reiki does the same thing. It clears debris from the being. So receiving the Reiki was a pleasant, nurturing experience for me, and it was like washing the being from the inside out. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that I was in a good mood beforehand. The reason I mentioned that is because we often don't know the stress or worries or upsets or negative emotions that we may be carrying in the being. So it was a little remarkable to me that I felt so expanded afterwards because I went into it feeling in an expanded state. It shouldn't be a surprise to me because I know what Reiki does, but I had not received Reiki from someone else in a while. So the other thing I'd like to say is that while self-Reiki is very important, receiving Reiki from someone else is equally important. When you learn Reiki, especially with level 1, you learn how to do healings on yourself. And this is important because you want to be able to feel the energy, and you also want to apply what you have learned to your own being. You don't want to be at the effect of having to wait for someone else to give you a session. So you're taking healing into your own hands, literally into your own hands, because the Reiki is going to flow from your hands. So while it is important to do self-Reiki, there's something very magical that happens when you receive Reiki from someone else. And it's because when you are receiving Reiki from someone else, you are just the recipient. When you are giving self-Reiki, you are giving and receiving. So you have to stay a little bit alert because you're moving your hands through a sequence of hand positions. You don't have to do all the positions, but you still stay a little bit alert and awake, you could say, so that you can be somewhat conscious of moving through different positions on the body and kind of assessing where you need more Reiki. But when you are the recipient of Reiki, only the recipient, all you have to do is receive. And this is sometimes something we neglect, and especially as healing practitioners, we neglect this. We are often giving as Reiki masters, as teachers of Reiki. We are giving out through the teaching and the sharing of the energy. If you do other forms of body work, you are naturally also giving. So it is important for practitioners to receive, to lie down on a massage table and receive body work from someone else, whether it's chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, polarity, Reiki, whatever it is that is appealing to you. Do these other modalities and be just the recipient. It's a very special time to connect with your inner space. Connect on a level that is not involving your mental body at all. Body work is such a special gift that we have on the planet, and Reiki is one of the purest, most powerful, gentlest, softest forms of healing. It's a type of body work that anyone can learn and use very quickly. It is like a muscle, we know that, so the more we use it, the stronger it gets. So while self-Reiki is important, I just want to stress in today's episode to remember to receive this energy from someone else. This is also another reason why it's very nice if two people in the household learn Reiki, and then you can give each other treatments, or if you learn Reiki with a friend and you commit to sharing this energy. So why Reiki? Why did I learn Reiki, and why did it come into my life, and how is it still influencing my life? One of the biggest ways I want to say it is influencing me is it automatically puts me out of the mental body activity. So we spend a lot of time in mental activity during the day. We're also in physical activity. But to just be very yin, very feminine, very receptive to light energy is such a beautiful place to be. And if you have learned Reiki, I would like to suggest that you rededicate yourself to this modality, Sometimes when we learn things, we are excited in the beginning, we do them a lot, and then we learn the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But there is a reason we're learning all of these modalities. On the spiritual path, as seekers, we are interested in different techniques that will help us evolve as beings. So we may be doing yoga, we may be doing meditation, we may be doing prayer, we may be doing chanting, we may be doing some visualization, we may be doing body work. But it is important to do all of these things and do them on a regular basis and reconnect with them. So you wouldn't do meditation just on Mondays and then yoga just on Fridays. As spiritual seekers, we are trying to incorporate all of these techniques on a very regular basis in order to really affect change in the energy field. Now, perhaps you go to yoga class once a week, and so that is your time for yoga. There's nothing wrong with that. But to remember that these techniques are given to us so that we can use them in our personal practices on a regular basis. Originally, for instance, yoga was not something that was done in a group looking in mirrors. It was done as part of your personal internal practice, something that you would do on a daily basis to connect with the divine. And so we do Reiki in the same manner. We do it on a regular basis, and we take that time just to connect, to breathe, and to be with this light energy that flows through our hands. When we do meditation, this light energy is flowing to us through perhaps our breath or visualization, whatever tools you are using, techniques you are using. When we're chanting, we are generating light energy through sound vibration, through the chanting of the sacred sounds. And again, sometimes the sounds are not even chanted out loud. So there are different levels and ways of working with the mantras. But the point I'm trying to make is to use all of these techniques. Don't forget about them. Let's say you learned something a while ago and you used to use it a lot and you found it valuable. There's a reason that technique came into your life. And so remember that you were actively seeking something and the universe responded. I learned feng shui many years ago, and I have consistently used that in every space I've moved to. I've used it in my car. And so that also has been a magical part of my journey. It's so interesting to see what comes into the space. All we need to do really is to put forth the request to the universe of where you would like help, what you would like help with, and not worry about the how. The universe brings the how. How is that going to happen? The universe brings that answer to us. We simply are responsible for putting forth the request and then being receptive to the answers. Sometimes we feel also that the requests are falling on deaf ears. There's nobody listening. And we feel the struggle of life. And so this is why it's important to do your beautiful practice, to be around other like-minded individuals, to study the spiritual texts, and to gather in community regularly and use these beautiful modalities that have come to us. So group chanting, group Reiki, group meditation, group yoga, but then also to bring all that energy into your private practice, and then do your private practice alone, just you and the divine, and then you bring that energy back into the group. So it goes back and forth, and it's always this beautiful dance. I hope today has been a little bit insightful. I know the title was a little bit funny, Why Reiki? But I just started thinking about how beautiful the session was that I received from my sweet student who has become a new friend, a new sister on the path. This is always how it is with the teaching of these modalities. I want to close by saying this, that when we teach these modalities, they're very intimate, very personal, very lovely, because we spend time with one another, often exploring kind of deep concepts and speaking about awarenesses that we are having on our paths. And so the relationship between the teacher and the student, and the student and the teacher, becomes a very graceful and lovely exchange. So if there are Reiki masters listening, enjoy your responsibility of teaching Reiki and honor all of your students for what they bring to your space and for them giving you the opportunity to express Reiki and share Reiki. And if there are Reiki practitioners listening, I encourage you to meet more often with other practitioners, to do self-Reiki, but also to meet with other practitioners and receive Reiki. Don't forget to receive body work. Be just the recipient, where you will reconnect with this wonderful modality, and most of all, where you will just be silent and at one with your body and your being when you are the recipient of a healing session. It's different from sitting in meditation. It's different from chanting. It's similar, but it's different. So it is the movement of light energy through the body, but in a very special way through the vehicle of your hands. And this tradition of doing hands-on healing is quite ancient and quite amazing. We feel as Reiki practitioners that hands-on healing has been passed down through many traditions, in many lifetimes, in other civilizations. And so this hands-on healing is familiar to all of us. Many times I initiate people into Reiki and they say, I feel like I've done this before. And so we have. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Om Sai Ram. Jai Guruji. Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. Hare Krishna. Om Namah Shivaya. I hope this has been helpful. Please remember to reach out. The website is reikiacademy.org, REIKI academy.org. And I would love to hear your comments, questions, suggestions, requests. And I'm happy to keep doing these podcasts and sincerely hope that they are of assistance. Samasta loka sukino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om.